If you like what we do here, be sure to like and subscribe. Even support us on Patreon. Now let's go. Welcome, folks, to another episode of Behind the Cards. You'll notice that here recently we're not doing as much data stuff. That's not really, what the intention is. It's just that, quarterly data updates only come quarterly. So to fill that time, I like to talk about everything. In fact, that's what the banner on the YouTube says, everything competitive Pauper Commander. And today we're going to talk about community buildings. Community buildings? Wow. You really nailed that one. Community building. There we go. I mean, I'm allowed to gaff. I'm a cool guy, So who I have with me today is my man, Ryan Sparks. Ryan, say hello to the folks.
How you guys doing? I just waved. No one can see us.
Oh man. So Ryan is here. If you don't know Ryan, I was going to say that's okay, but that's not okay. Ryan is a legend in the Detroit area. That's appropriate. Legend.
I like it. Capital L, right?
Capital L.
Yeah.
There is no Magic player in the greater Detroit area that does not know who this person is. How about that?
That's right. I like that.
Sweet.
Perfect.
So
yeah.
Right now that
your Twitter handle now.
No, you better. Well, blue sky now. Everybody's moving to blue sky.
Oh yeah, blue sky. I'll put that in quotes.
So right. This is good. Tell the people out there, everything about yourself, who you are. Obviously, like the area that you represent.
Sure.
What your role is in the community there. Mm-hmm. All the little spheres that you interact with. Yeah, go ahead, do the thing.
All right, sweet. I'm Ryan Sparks. I've been playing Magic since probably 7th edition. Believe it or not, Magic actually saved my life, and that's what I branched into Commander. I was on the ledge and I found Commander, and that kind of saved my life. So that was a big moment in my life. We got the Detroit area where place that I'm from. So Detroit area, we got mainly Livonia where I hang out. I got a couple card shops over there. We got All That Games, RIW, a few other ones that, sometimes I visit and frequently kind of go through their bulk box and whatnot. But those are the two big ones. A lot of cool people at those card shops. I'm good friends with. Clay's met a few of them. So good times. I play Commander, Pauper Commander, cPDH, Arena. I play Brawl only, nothing else. And sometimes you'll catch me at a draft or so playing Two-Headed Giant, or I might even do some Commander draft. So those are the formats I tend to dig into. 60 card Magic, I don't really play. I did way back when, but Commander is my love. It's, if it's variants, I love variants in Commander. I like Planes Chase. I like, Kingdom. I like Emperor. What else? We got Arch Enemy. I like all the variants. I like to throw that in the mix.
Keeps it interesting.
I also made my own format on the down low, but I've had it at a couple card shops. It's had about 40 people at both events and such. So we kind of had a good 6-week, 14-week events. It's called Jumanji. It's kind of cool. Look it up sometime if you haven't, Clay. I think you'd like it. So, but yeah, other than that, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Right on. Let me pivot off of that because I know you.
Yeah.
Tell me about the content that you've made over the past couple of years.
So, yep. At RIW, I was the co-founder / co-host of the not Pauper Commander. I'm sorry, I'm thinking Pauper Commander already. Well, there was Pauper Commander on it. So a Commander podcast of all kinds. With Brian DeMars. He's on the RIW team at the RIW Hobbies, and he does all their in-house articles and such like that. And I've actually written articles for them too. Yeah, it was called Legendary Showdown. We had a good 10 arc episode of, a mix of everything from Jumanji, Pauper Commander, a little bit of cPDH, and that was kind of cool. And that's where, around the time we started talking to a lot of folks, even in Pauper Commander community, the competitive community, the Commander community, And that podcast was pretty sweet. So there was a lot of cool people, including yourself. We met with it between everything. So
sweet. And okay, so one more thing before we pivot to Pauper Commander community building. So you already name dropped a little bit. So for the people that out there that do not know the history of Magic in Livonia, why is Magic such a special place? Why this place? What significance does it have on the broader Magic community? What is its impact? Tell the people.
Sure. Yeah. So I can say, historically speaking, RIW has been a huge place for Pauper itself, right? It's been a stomping ground for years and years and years in the Midwest for Pauper. The professor's been there. They have another channel coming up. I think you guys should be back sometime next year. Yeah. But just historically speaking, there's just been so much of just various folks there just from the Pauper community side. And they've had a great team. RIW has. It's traveled all over the country playing Magic for many, many years, bringing a lot of people to the shop. They're friends with a lot of people. I've seen, actually, when I was at Columbus this weekend, I brought up the RK Post that was there, RIW, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, I remember RIW." He goes, "Yeah, and Pam, the owner of RIW, has a really, really cool, set of counter spells in her Pauper deck that RK Post actually did." And I brought those up and they're all like superhero theme and stuff. And John Wilkerson, who really well too, the judge and the guy that brought Pauper Commander to RIW with us. He was telling me about all this stuff that RK Post is, he's done and traveled and seen and done for Pam and the store. And there's just been like a lot of cool people that the shop has been interacting with over the years.
Any Pro Tour champions in there?
I would say maybe Brian DeMars, and a few others.
So to put it lightly, unlike most places, I'm not saying any other place, but unlike most places across the continental United States, the Detroit area has access to some really hardcore Magic players. So whether or not they are actually affiliated with the teams, so all that games team or RIW Hobbies team, traveling abroad to do whatever, whether or not they are affiliated, the average player has an exposure to this higher level of play. Outside of most places don't have that same level of exposure, which is kind of what I was driving at. Magic means something in that area. So okay, now to the main thrills and spills. So you had mention briefly, so you talked about John, who I love dearly, great guy.
He's awesome.
And you had made in a passing comment, John helped us bring Pauper Commander to Livonia. So that's kind of like the origin story, the lore, as it were, for our journey together. I went to the first, I went to the second, I plan on going to the third, fourth, fifth, as long as I keep doing them, I'll keep traveling. So how did we get here? How did we get to the point where the first RIW event was 44 strong? There was some scheduling conflicts with a competing LGS that led to the second one not being 44, but we had a decent showing at 28, I think.
Yeah. And there would have been a lot more people there, but a lot of those people that were there last year were at the other LGS for that event. So I think that's what we'll probably look out for in the future for sure. 100.
So with respect to we're already here now. So I would say a visit to Detroit is on everyone's calendar moving forward. How did we get to that first one?
So originally what had happened was Brian DeMars got a message on Twitter, which is now X, And he got that from Brad, I believe, over at the PDH pod. Until I get a hoodie from you, right? I got to wear this one as well. But just saying. He got a message to them, and it was Brian came to me and John and said, how are we gonna do this? So the store at the time had a Discord, but we didn't actively use it like video or anything like that, or podcasts. So John's like, okay, can we meet up at a certain time? And Brian's like, yeah, let's do this together. Brian was like, I'm not really sure on how it works, so we can work together. Brian from the tech side, John from the logistics side, and Brian from like the research and and all that other stuff. And then his background in Magic. John played a lot of competitive Pauper too, so that really helped bring a lot of that to the table. And I played, because of John, I started playing Pauper and stuff like that for a little bit. But we ended up getting on the PDH pod, doing a podcast, and John casually dropped, hey, we're going to do a PDH 1K or, PDH tournament. That'd be awesome. And then sure enough, free tacos, I think, were brought up, and I think the world flocked to Detroit after that. So I think that podcast really started the family that we built, that hashtag PDH fam, I always say. It brought everyone together, and it opened the floodgates for just about, the Pauper Commander community. We exchanged a lot of names back and forth that day. I think we even made Pauper Commander viral after that. Just for the day, like the words that go viral. It was in the trending section off to the side, like PDH fam or like all that other stuff. Was off to the side. It was just kind of funny just to kind of see it trending and stuff for that after that podcast. But it was just the three of us having the chemistry with those guys. And then as we built that event, we were seeing people show up once a week to prepare for that, talking about, oh, hey, I built this 5-color deck, or hey, I built this 2-color deck. Let's give it a shot. So we were bringing people in at RIW that were playing Pauper Commander with us, and we were enjoying it because it wasn't like we're not winning super quickly. We're trying to play every card we can, every unique card out there. Cards that people just label trash in EDH are not really trash. I mean, I never really called them trash, but people are like, oh, that card doesn't, work. But PDH makes that work, right? And we were having so much fun with all these cards that were just sitting in people's drawers or boxes, just putting decks together at the store. And that podcast really changed it, I think, for a lot of people. Or I don't think we'd be talking right now without that episode.
That's likely the case. And it was the free tacos that got me got me calling. No, but the interesting thing, I mean, you rightfully credit us with kind of bringing it. We did. So the Pauper Commander community has about 12 to 14 people that love to travel. So whether or not it's a MagicCon, RIW, what have you, there you can count on 12 to 14 people traveling to the various events and stuff like that. But that said, even if for that second event, I think we had earlier this year, we only had like maybe 10. The remainder of the people were locals.
Oh yeah.
So there had to have been something transpire in the time and preparation of that first one, and then in between the events, something had to transpire to get some return, because I know there was a lot of return faces in that second one.
Definitely. There was a lot of people tweeting at me saying, hey, I'm nearby, can you send me the address again? Or hey, I haven't been to RIW in a while, is there anything I should know, how to get there, anything closed down? And I was surprised on seeing so many people nearby that, like you said, and actually you can put that number from 14 to 15, because I think as long as you guys will be there, myself and 3 others are going to be at MagicCon Chicago in February. So that's the plan. Going to hightail a train out there. So
the airfare and room reservations are already done, baby. All I got to do is get my badge. That's it.
Nice.
So yeah, you'll see me there. Just look for the big sign that we always have. In fact, that reminds me, I got to put in another sign order. Neither here nor there.
Those food tokens always make me hungry. So
with the pizza, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love those.
So, in the absence of the major event, the two major events, what does Pauper Commander look like on the daily? I know that you play regularly at All That Games. You know, got the blessed opportunity to come visit after the tournament over there. We threw some cards. I think we were able to get in like 2 games. Playing more Magic at the end of a long day of tournament Magic is sometimes, you know, your head hurts.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. So I think we stayed up till like midnight or something like that, and then finally did the old tap out. So what does Pauper Commander look like in those off times? Like how many guys are playing? You know, how many people are building decks? Are you loaning out decks? Like, you know, like what does that look like?
So ideally, what we usually have is like a couple pods going at All That Games from time to time. I do loan out some decks because there's some people that, you know, life happens, so they might get rid of their cards. They might have to sell cards, different things like that. But I do loan out decks. We do play a lot. I do throw in the Plains Chase in the mix because I think it's always fun. A little Plains Chase and Pauper Commander action. Wednesdays, I usually have Magic at my house, so we bust out a couple Pauper Commander decks, and we play regular Commander. So it's like 4 or 5 hours worth of Pauper Commander, regular Commander, Plains Chase, everything in the mix. And those are about 5 or 6 people that all have their own individual Pauper Commander decks, and not even one person has the same deck. So that's always cool too. And at All That Games, me and Jeff are the only 2 people. Jeff was the other guy playing elves like me. He actually borrowed my list because he loved it so much. So he ended up making my list, playing in the last 1K. But the extent of it is everyone else there has like at least 2 Pauper Commander decks, and none of the decks are the same. And prime example too, I'll drop his name again, Brian DeMars, but Brian and I are always chatting after each of these sets come out, so about some sweet opportunities for some of the commanders, you know, that we're seeing being printed. Like, oh, that's a sweet uncommon. That'd be a cool Pauper Commander. What can we do with that? So I think the community is still strong. I think it's a lot stronger when we put, you know, a tournament together, or we have people nearby that do like a meetup. I think doing some regular events has definitely helped boost the amount of pods playing at a given time. I think people like the ability to not have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a deck. And I think that, you know, a lot of the people that we bring in for some of these places, you know, they're younger, so they don't have the best jobs yet, or they might be in school still, so it's affordable for them. So I think that's a huge win, because at All That Games we have like a mix of different age groups, and I see a lot more people flocking towards Pauper Commander decks. It's like they're some of them even put their proxy decks aside that they have built, and just to play with physical cards, because that's that love of being able to have those physical cards versus just a proxy is just always cool. But I think that it's pretty strong. I think people really love it. Travis and I were talking this weekend when we were at SEG Columbus about having some Pauper Commander events coming up in the 2025 year at the shop to bring in some more people to play. And
that would be dope. A warm up to the 1K. Get people engaged and playing. So so that begs another relevant question for the people out there who want to play Pauper Commander at their LGS, and they don't know how to go about like getting something like organized or what have you. It sounds like you guys might have had like this big push to be like, okay, everybody, we're doing this, and then you had people get on board. It sounded like you had some legitimate power in convincing people to the power of position and authority to be able to convince them to do the thing.
Sure.
But like, I know you have also seen people come to it organically and then, continue to play. Like, what is your best piece of advice to help those people who are trying to establish Pauper Commander communities in their LGS, like how to go about doing that?
Yeah. So I would think, don't focus on the word magic in the gathering. Focus on the gathering. Don't focus about how you win when you're trying to build a community. It's not about winning when you're trying to bring people together. The winning comes last because you need someone to play with, right? So in my opinion, I think the strong suit that we've had, the various people like John, myself, Brian, Travis, and bringing all these people together, and Marcus is, I don't know if you remember Marcus, I think
Slivers, Rocco Slivers.
Yeah, exactly. I think the strength that we have as a group is not that we're just good players. I would say, maybe we're not the best players, but Brian's really good. John's really good. Travis is good. Marcus is good. But when it comes down to me, I think the key to it is I always try to focus on that gathering piece. Is if you can bring a group together, and even if like I've built decks and I've given them to people, and I've sat down and talked to them about how it works, why it's cool, it's something different. I think the key to it is focus on that gathering and getting those people on the battlefield first. Show them that it's not expensive to play the format. Show them that, hey, you can take, a portion of your paycheck and go buy a physical deck for pennies on the dollar to be out there and just playing with everyone. I think that being cool and helping people out and giving them that direction and saying, hey, check this card out. What's your play style? And getting those people to sit down together with you, I think is the key, right? If you get them to sit, you get them to realize that the budget's there and they can afford it. I think you got them on the hook, right? I think you got them to be part of your family, your PDH fam, as I always say, right? I think the key is be the gathering, not the magic. The magic sounds corny, is the gathering, right? So I think if you can get that gathering part down before you get the magic part down, I think that's the answer. I think focusing on them, not you, is the key.
I don't disagree with that in the least. So I have personally watched content creators or other alpha type personalities sit there and be, outwardly state, well, I am expert in this thing, you should follow me. So when they do say stuff like that, you'll attract a certain amount of people, especially if you're a decent enough, if you're a decent enough Magic player to string together some reputable like wins and stuff like that. But those relationships between the people they attract and the people they keep, those are tenuous, right? Because it's like, okay, it's predicated. Here we go. It's predicated on a certain type of exchange. Like, as long as you are, performing or creating this thing or what have you, then I am with you, right? But once something changes on this end, that all falls apart. Now, what you're saying is, and which I wholeheartedly agree with, that if you generate something special from the go that's relative to the people, and this is not secondary, but second, right? Then that bond between those people will persist. Magic keyword, persist. doing the counterspell, art will persist beyond whatever ups and downs, ebbs and flows come from that whole like format thing. So yeah, I might be, now that I'm talking to you, I might be doing it wrong. So tomorrow night, as of this recording, this is a Monday night. Tomorrow night, I'll be going out to the LGS every Tuesday, Commander night.
Yeah.
I take my battle box, I take my gear, I take it all down there, and I actively play my PDH decks against everybody else's EDH decks. And what I'm trying to demonstrate is that I can do powerful things, like you said, pennies on the dollar.
Yep.
So I win my fair share of games. I shake up my fair share of games. You know, even if I don't win, I do something like really outstandingly cool that people aren't expecting. And that's turned some heads. And my hope is that I'm slowly going to generate some converts based on my performance and how I'm representing the game. Hasn't really worked so much yet, but you know, maybe they're just not that type of player. Maybe they just want to do their pre-con stuff and, you know, let it ride. Gotta accept that too. But that's it. I mean, what I'm saying is based on your perception and your experience, which obviously you've done a lot better at it than I. Who am I? Who the hell am I? You've done a lot better locally than I have. I mean, obviously. So maybe it would be a conversation of like, hey guys, you know, let's try this thing. You know, if you don't like it, we don't ever have to talk about it again. But if you do like it, you know, maybe we can talk about this more. No, kind of pivoting back to you and your particular community. Do you guys offer up like, are there like starter decks? Like they, you know, do you, cause you're kind of, you've got your foot in multiple LGSs. Has somebody started selling like starter decks yet? Like, precons?
So
that sort of thing?
So that same shop that was doing the 1K during the day that we were doing the PDH 1K, they actually offer precons at their store in Howell, Michigan at Mom's Basement Games. So they're pretty good about putting together precons. I will say the one thing I do is when I get someone I want to keep saying like a sales term, but it's not. But like on the hook, if you get someone on the hook, right? I tend to actually build or give them one of my decks I have. So like the one guy that played the Drake deck at the tournament. So I gave Travis the Sprite Dragon deck, the one that's won the last 2 times second place, and was he 4th place last time? Or I don't want to say won because you won the last one, but
oops.
But he got second. I think Scarecrow. What is it? Scarecrow that got first the first year. Or something? So and he got second or third or something the first year, and then I think he make top 4 again this year or something like that, or top 8.
I think he was top 8 at least, maybe 6th if my memory.
Yeah,
I'm getting old. You can't trust this thing.
But when I see someone pilot a deck like it belongs to them, I end up giving it to them, because it's like, if you're gonna play a deck and I think you're doing really well with it, it's meant to be for you, right? Same thing with my buddy that played in the tournament. Now I think he dropped out after the 2nd or 3rd round, but he was playing the Crackling Drake deck, and he was doing good with it. He loves dragons. He was playing dragons at EDH before I got him over to PDH. So I gave him a mono white life game deck, Eldrazi, and then I gave him the Crackling Drake deck. And honestly, you know, when I see someone can pilot something better than I can and they're really liking it, I end up giving them the deck. So it's kind of like a local game store is giving someone a deck, right? But I feel like you can give away something that, like, it's not like you're giving them a $2,000 deck. You're giving them, you know, something less than $100 or around $100 because they're enjoying it.
So this is a great opportunity. So, all right, any LGS owners out there who's watching this, I want you to listen to Papa Clay here. So the average competitive Pauper Commander deck, right? So you can make some casual stuff for like $25, but the average competitive Pauper Commander deck runs between $40 and $60. That's the average, right? Now they can get up in the 80s if you're doing snowlands and that kind of stuff, right? But the average competitive deck is $40 to $60. Now I want you to think in your mind it takes an employee on average, because I've seen it, an hour to pull all the cards for a Pauper Commander deck. Now, if you look at that number, low end, $40 for an hour's worth of labor, how much are you paying that employee? I won't tell. So what is the difference between what you're paying and what you're sending out the door in those precons? Now, obviously, if you're leaning more into the $60 or maybe even $80 margins, now those precons start to look pretty damn good. So what I hear, because I've tried to approach, speech over. I've tried to approach the two major LGSs here, and one guy in particular was like, well, tell me about the money. I'll be losing money, selling these 25-cent cards. Well, you don't sell them individually. You sell them as a precon. You build it, all the way there or most of the way there, and you sell it, and yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm going to stop you there. So when I hear an LGS store owner go, what am I going to make off this? Let's look at it from another angle. If you take the time and you invest in a deck that someone can go sit at an EDH table and beat a bunch of precons and have a great time with it, and you took the time to build this for this person and they're loving this deck, they're going to come back to your store and they're going to make more money than you probably would sell 5 precons in one day, because this person's going to keep coming back and asking you for cards. Because once they start that addiction of PDH or something to that effect, where they're not spending a bunch of money, they're going to want to find the next deck to build, and they're just going to keep doing it. So it's not about how much money can you make now. It's about what can you build in your store, like the community we're talking about, so people feel comfortable being there to keep coming back, to keep playing and spending money.
And you're creating an entry point at a lower price point, because how much? Because that's the thing. If you go to Amazon, which most people can't do when the Commander precons get available, right? You can get them. You can get them fairly cheap. $45-$50 on pre-order on Amazon, but not everybody has the opportunity to do that. So by the time they make it to the LGS, the precons, like I think the Eldrazi one started out at like $120 or something like that, and then the cheaper ones were like $60-$70. Like, you're creating another price point below that gives somebody, an entry into, the foray that is Commander at large, the umbrella. And I don't know. I might not be a smart businessman. I
think it's a good investment. If you can make someone happy for a long period of time and they want to keep more, it's you're making more money in the long run. But it's not about the money; it's about keeping people in your store and having that conversation.
And that's the thing. Like one of my LGSs, those priority mailing like square boxes. If it fits, it ships. You remember those commercials?
Oh yeah.
So they were selling like bulk by the pound, right? It was like, I think it was like 3,000 cards. It could have been like 5,000 cards, but they were like, X number of pounds of bulk, and they were selling it at like $40 or $50. Just think, instead of like 3,000 cards for $40, think of it the opposite way: 100 cards for $40.
Yeah.
Now where the margin's looking for, instead of just like shipping out all of this bulk, have somebody just curate.
Exactly. Yep.
So I'm hopeful that an LGS, an owner will see this and kind of understand the metrics that we're talking about here, like RIW year number 1, all of the hype driving up to it, 44 players. I think the entry was $25 or $30 ahead.
It sounds right. I think it was about $25.
There was a free taco bar, which I don't know what the cost of that. Now I will say, Pam, right? Pam
is the owner. Yep.
Pam will dig into her pocket to take care of the players. I've witnessed this personally. She is a big community builder. So I'm not saying that if you you, the LGS owners out there hearing the sound of my voice, should offer a free taco bar. Maybe stick to the normal concessions that you, which, I mean, you know, the players are going to be paying for anyway, but like 44 person event times 25, that's not bad. It's not a bad take on a day, you know?
I don't think so. Yeah. And you got people spending money in the store too.
Spending money in the store, modifying their decks the day of, especially if you're timing it, you know, after like a week or two after a release, you know? So yeah, I it always trips me up and gets me kind of flustered because I have personally over the last couple of years, I've watched, you know, success stories like yourself, you know, others in Detroit area, you know, kind of make something out of nothing. And it's all from that perspective of, you know, we're building a community organically. People are enjoying themselves, having memories. It's all about that gathering, you know, and getting into the format, and it's sustaining itself. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Diatribe over. I'll cleanse my soul.
There you go.
So we've talked briefly about the past two events. You know, some of the community organizing that you've done up to that particular point. Like moving into 2025, we'll be hitting the third year of RIW. Potentially the first year of all that games stuff. You know, what does that look like for you? How are you in your grassroots fashion? How are you driving players into driving? That sounds horrible. You know, convincing players to join in and do that. What's the plans there for the coming year?
So I will say that there's been lots of talks on what direction, you know, are people going to be playing the same decks at these events that they normally are known for? Are we going to go, because all these new sets that have come out recently, are we going to kind of switch to new decks? All that games after Travis's win the other day at SCG Con, we're actually going to be more serious, I think, starting in 2025, actually playing at more places. Chicago Con, like, for example, Magic Con Chicago. But we're going to dive into formats that we all know. So I'm definitely going to be trying to play in as many Pauper Commander events as I can. There were talks, you know, loosely of actually establishing, you know, we got a lot of players that are on the team, but actually establishing a well-known team and how we can go that way, you know, for these events. And I think that everyone on our team wants to play Pauper Commander as one of the main things. So
that reminds me real quick before we continue on into the next year. So that jersey that he has behind him, the orange and black, for this last RIW, you guys shocked the world by doing what?
All wearing our jerseys together.
And how many people did you have in the group?
There were about, I think there were like 8 or 9 of us.
So all rolled in, all matchy. Yeah. We knew we were in trouble. We knew we were in trouble. Okay. Segue aside.
No, it's all right. Remember, I could have killed you in that match.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You know, the young lady to my left was pretty serious.
I know she was.
So, for those who don't know, I think most of the enfranchised Pauper Commander community knows. I had a featured match on the RIW stream where I had won, and in this particular game, I presented a first win attempt, and in the middle of that win attempt, I tutored for another combo piece because I was getting interacted with, and I knew my combo was going to fail. So what I did was I tutored for another combo piece to set up for a following turn. Now, the table talk at that game, people on stream didn't realize that I didn't have it, but, you know, people in the game, such as Ryan here, they had asked me like, well, hey, you just got another combo piece. Do you have it? And I go, look, I've got this. I had one other card in hand, which was a Dispel. That you guys didn't know what that card was.
Now hold on a second. That's the spell I told you to save to help me counter something.
Yeah.
I said I wouldn't kill you if you saved this counter spell for me. Because I think she was going to play something to blow up my board or attempt to blow up my abomination.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Clay, I won't come after you if you hold up a counter spell for me. And you said, okay. And that was my famous last words.
So, I mean, I ended up using the Dispel to, protect myself in the combo. But that's the thing. I kept my word and I held it up. And I held it up to the last minute. But I top deck. So when they asked me like what I had, I told them I was like, yes, I have this one particular card, but I don't have any other, like, look at the board state. I don't have the requisite pieces I need to make the mana and go off. I ended up top decking that sweet land aura that I needed. But the conversation that we were having, the Kutzel player, Jason, was looking at me like, man, I really should kill you. And I go, you can. And you can verify this. I was like, you absolutely can. You can kill me. I'll be dead. But this is what's going to happen afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
She is going to knock your block off.
That's right. Every time I see you now, I see the words on your forehead, kill the combo player.
So, I mean, I got lucky in the fact that the one card that I needed, I top deck off of the top. Now, granted, there's due to redundancy, there's several copies of that card in the list. It's a land aura that produces 2 or more mana, but like there was no guarantee that I was going to get any of that stuff. I had no card draw in hand, no way to get it going. I was literally off the top of the deck. So
it's painful. I've been there.
Yeah. So I mean, but speaking, so this is that community thing.
Yeah.
The type of environment. So RIW has a broadcast room that's mostly soundproofed, and they've got media equipment, and when they do a stream, there's people, a lot of your associated content that you had recorded with RIW was done out of that room. So you're very familiar with it. Like the person who was handling the streaming equipment was like super professional, had all the bits and bobs, got everybody's names right, what they were playing, all that stuff. Coordinating with the commentators who were sitting outside of the room, which is always an interesting thing because they're not sitting in the room with you. Yes, they'd have to whisper like this, Yeah, so they're sitting outside of the room watching their tablet or laptop or what have you, commentating the activities that are happening inside of the room. Just like there's a whole orchestration of personnel associated with these events, and this particular community has got it nailed with all the hands that are supporting and kind of making it legitimately the premier, at present it is the premier paper event for Pauper Commander. So like all the pieces of that, whether or not Pam the owner, John the head judge who was there organizing the thing, all the people supporting making the electronics go burr, the teams that show up with their jerseys, like it's a freaking vibe. And getting back to like this component of community building, the things that you have done and others in concert with others to on the off days, on the rainy days when nobody's thinking about the 1K tournament or anything like that, getting people together at your house, getting people together at the LGS, seeing new players come in and be like, hey, what are you into? Well, I'd like to do this commander thing, but I ain't got a lot of money. Oh, well, hey, I got a deal for you, like talking to the people one at a time, one by one by one by one. Eventually you have many.
Oh yeah.
So I think we're at a good spot. Now, we'll probably finish a little bit earlier than normal, but that's the thing. We're Chatty Cathy's. We probably get it out there kind of quick. In these last couple of moments, is there anything relative to the Pauper Commander community that you built that you want to share, or?
That's a good question. I would say, just because, like you said earlier, I think that if something doesn't work right away, don't give up on it. Keep going, because it might not be Sunday by the time someone shows up. It might be 2 months from now, right? That new person that shows up, they're just looking for somewhere to fit in. They want to fit in. Don't be afraid to approach someone. I'll be the first to say, not all Magic players are awkward, but the vast majority of Magic players can be pretty awkward because they don't have some of them have social anxiety. I think that if you approach someone and you just be yourself and you be cool, calm, and collective, and you tell them about that gathering that you and I have been talking about this entire thing, welcome them into your, I'll say it again, #PDH fam, right? Welcome them in, build that, give them that deck. If that deck has been sitting there collecting dust that you've never played before, in like a year or so, haven't played it in a year, let them try that deck out, and it works, and they have a good time. They're smiling, they exchange numbers and everything. Let them have it. They'll be back, and you just keep building it from there. I think the more you give, the more you get. Right? You gotta lose to gain. Right? So have a couple decks.
That is so good. You gotta get to give. You gotta lose. You gotta lose to gain. There's a lot of people in the online community that could learn from that. A lot. You know who you are. If you know, you know. So I don't like to point fingers directly.
He'll tag you later. But yeah, I think that sums it short. Be there for others, and like I always say, and I always try to say it at every single podcast that I did with Brian, but the real winning is not winning on the battlefield, but it's the friends you make when you leave the battlefield. And I think that's always the way that I personally like to close off things myself, is just remember, without a community, without people with you, there is no gathering, there is no magic.
Right on. All right, Ryan, where can people find you if they want to harass you online? Like, where can they do that?
You can find me on Discord. It's just RES Mustang on Discord.
And that stands for what? What's
my initials. So it's Ryan Eric Sparks, and then Mustang was my favorite car. So growing up, and it's always been like my gamer tag since I was a kid. So and on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and eventually probably on Blue Sky, it will be at RES Mustang _MTG.
Sweet.
It was MTG Sparks for a little bit, but I wanted to switch it up a little bit. So
yeah, I seem to recall that too. But also, like, the question people really want to know about you: 4-string bass or 5-string bass?
4-string.
Okay. OG.
I've played a 5-string, but I just like the 4-string.
Right on. And then in the IT world, are you like full stack, or front end, back end, up end?
I'm a little bit of everything.
Right on.
I was actually told today I'm going to lead the entire Windows 11 project for our company, so that's going to be a little stressful, but I think I'll handle it. But I do a little bit of everything: network, server, desktop, everything. So
sweet. Just giving the people little pieces as they go to contact you and harass you. Maybe they'll talk about magic. Maybe they'll talk about bases. Maybe they'll talk about IT stuff. Do you have any particular, most people who chase ghosts also have some sort of website or book, or
Sure.
What you got, buddy?
So I don't have a website per se, but we do have a Facebook group. It's Special Unit Paranormal. So facebook.com/Special Unit Paranormal. Ironically, we didn't realize that our team was going for a TV show. We had to pick up a name on the spot in an interview, and we're like, oh yeah, Special Unit Paranormal. And we didn't realize it stands acronym for SUP. SUP. So, yep. And I'll tell you a real quick story before we sign off, and I'll make it quick. But so I actually grew up in a haunted house, and so this is where I get all that graveyard vibe and magic that I love, right? Because of the ghost stuff. But I grew up in a haunted house where my mom was doing something in the kitchen, and her and my stepdad, I think, was in the other room, and they heard like a light bulb shatter in the basement, and they ran down, and it was already swept up on its own. So that started that. And then, yeah. And then I was pushed out of a chair like I was like probably 6 or 7 years old. I was sitting in like a play school, those old, like, little tables, and I'm watching Looney Tunes, and I get pushed out of my chair by something that wasn't there. So that kind of started it all for me.
Okay, we're gonna have nightmares. Let's go ahead and cap this shit right here.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm a graveyard player. I just wanted to throw it out there. So, yeah. Right
on. All right, cool. As per always, I'm gonna ask Ryan to drop me the links to all of those particular things in a DM. I'll add it to the description of this video. I hope that you guys enjoy this type of content. I know that it's unusual in the fact that we're not talking about decks and cards and things of that nature, but it's no less important. Unless you take the opportunity to invest in the people that are around you and look behind the cards, there's the title.
I like it. I like it.
Look behind the cards, then, maybe it's just not as, I was going to say as worth it, or, if you're just superficially kind of going through this game, you're not getting the most out of it that you can. That's the point. Okay. That's a wrap on this one. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem.
It's been way too long. We should have done this sooner. We'll probably get another one here in the next, like, however short a time, right?
That's right. Hey, and I'm glad I didn't kill you in that event, because you might not be talking to me right now.
No. I'm
just kidding.
I don't hold grudges. Hey, the payout helps.
Hey, you won first place. That's what matters, and I'm happy it was someone that I know.
Sweet. Thanks, buddy. All right. Yeah. This is Clay saying goodbye. That's Ryan saying goodbye.
Later.
All right, boys. We'll see you.
All right.